Good morning. We're going to call the Tuesday, October 3rd, DuPage County Stormwater Management Committee to order. I know we don't have a quorum, but we can get some stuff done while we're seeking another member. We have a roll call, please.
Here.
Start. Eckhoff.
Here.
Evans.
Here.
Garcia. Hinterlong. Nero. Bojack.
Here.
Police. Tornatori. Yusuf. Zay.
Here. Okay, just to confirming we don't have a quorum. We'll keep moving on here. We'll move on to public comment. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person, but since we don't have a quorum, Kay, you can take as long as you would like at this point. Morning, Kay.
Morning. I have a big list, so that's kind of nice. Hi, everybody. Wow, it's been a really busy September. We have a new cooking oil drop-off location. Wooddale now has their bin. So we added Salt Creek, we added Lyle Township last month and Wooddale Township, Wooddale Village this month. So that's really cool. We collected a lot of mercury at Roselle's Recycling Extravaganza. We have a special relationship with the hazardous waste site. So we can take mercury thermometers, barometers, and thermostats to keep that out of our landfills and keep that mercury out of the water. We have 19 locations in DuPage County for the pumpkin smash already. Hanover Park is trying to join us and be new this year. So that's kind of cool. We had two businesses help us with the medallions. Cannon of Itasca helped with the storm drain medallions, and Invesco of Downers Grove. And then the Village of Wooddale installed 25 more medallions this month. The Village of Wooddale's water quality flag ceremony is November 2nd. So we hope that some of you can be there for that ceremony. And then we have Walker Schools, November 15th, their water quality flag coming up. We also have a teacher open house, October 24th, where we're going to focus on the stream tables and the watershed models. So we're pretty excited about that. The 51st anniversary of the Clean Water Act is this month. So we've got that highlighted in our newsletters that went out yesterday, including the citizen training for River Watch. So we're kind of excited about that. And there was one other thing, and I'm going to forget it because I didn't write it down. Oh, Warrenville, thank you for doing a fall cleanup of the trails. You know, we're promoting the Pickup 5 because we clean the trails in April and then we use them from April to the following March. That's a long time for litter to be out there and become smaller particles and become nanoparticles in our water. So we're really pushing the Pickup 5 this fall to help keep our water clean. And finally, I don't know if you all got this magazine insert in your paper. It's a big magazine called Chicago Life. I don't know if you got that in your newspapers. They have a very, very excellent 2-page story on those forever chemicals in our water, PFASs. And it tells people it's in their dental floss and fire equipment, which of course we're all learning, and companies that have taken that chemical out. And it is a huge, excellent article that we should, it's really user-friendly for the people to read it and don't know that much about PFASs. So really important for our water. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Kay. We still don't have a quorum, so I'm going to amend the agenda. We're going to move to item 9C, which is our presentation by Stephen McCracken of the DuPage River Salt Creek Group on the nutrient implementation plan. So Stephen, come on up.
Testing. Okay. Thank you very much, Chairman Zay. So today I'm going to talk about the development of the nutrient implementation plan for the DuPage River and Salt Creek watersheds. All of the data that I'm going to be talked about today was collected by the DRSCW, or one of its partner organizations, and I would like to thank County Stormwater and County Public Works for their membership of this organization. We've been able to formulate a very data-intensive plan, and we were able to do that because we had over a decade of data collected that allowed us to make smart and targeted decisions. Okay, so what is this nutrient implementation plan, also called a NARP, or a Nutrient Assessment Reduction Plan? Two names for the same thing. So this is a statewide permit condition It's placed by the IEPA into wastewater permits statewide. We have approximately over 60 plants which are developing one individually in the state, and we have nearly 90 plants in the state which are developing one as part of a larger group. Obviously, there's a lot of benefits to developing it as part of a group because when you're dealing at a watershed and you've got multiple entities putting phosphorus into the water, it's good that they all coordinate their efforts. Okay, so what is in there? What this NIP plans or sets out to do is to reduce, and this is right out of the IEPA guidance, is reductions from point and non-point sources to lower the levels of TP in the water and improve dissolved oxygen and what they call offensive condition impairments. These are essentially excessive algae growth in waterways. And so these are for waters that the state has identified as having either too high of a level of phosphorus, dissolved oxygen problems, or excessive algal growth. Our waterways meet 2 of those. And so we were triggered to have this in our permit, and it was put in a wastewater permits around the county in 2015. Since then, IEPA has issued some guidance on what they want to have in there. So there's 2 elements I want to call out in this list here. One is the draft plan needs to be submitted to them by December 31st, 2023. The other thing is this item that I bolded here, which is DOT target level. So this is absolutely critical to understanding how this whole item came to be. The state of Illinois does not have a water quality standard for rivers for total phosphorus. They have pushed that out to essentially wastewater treatment plants to come up with a number, and they've given us 2 options. One is that you can adopt this recommendation from the State Nutrient Science Advisory Committee. They issued guidance in 2018 that suggested that water quality could be protected at levels of phosphorus in water at essentially 0.1 milligrams per liter. The second one was to develop your own watershed-specific target. Now, DuPage was in a great position to be able to do this because this is something we'd actually been working on since about 2005. Now, total phosphorus is a very difficult pollutant to deal with. It's not very well understood. It doesn't act like a lot of other pollutants. So this has been an issue that the state has been wrestling with since the 1980s. In fact, federal entities have also been wrestling to come up with this figure. Other things that they wanted to see in there was that there was a review of what they call majors and minors. These are different classifications of wastewater treatment plants. MS4s, which of course is of principal interest to everyone here today. These are the separate storm sewer systems, and then of course industrial permittees and other non-point sources. In this case, non-point sources refers to phosphorus coming out of wash off from soils, riverbank erosion, perhaps coming out of stream beds. So what is the program area that this nutrient implementation plan was developed for? So it's developed for the east and west branches of the DuPage River, Salt Creek, and the lower DuPage system. So the entire DuPage River basin and Salt Creek. In this map you see here, we've donated each one of those basins, and those little green icons you can see, those represent wastewater treatment plants. There are 30 wastewater treatment plants discharging to this system, and they represent over 180 million gallons a day of wastewater effluent. Okay, so this is the most science-intensive part of this presentation, but it's important to be able to show where we got this information from. So what you're looking for is a graphic of essentially fish species graded by the state's system for scoring fish populations. And we've broken them out into 4 different groups here. The ones that are in that blue color and green color are sites that are meeting state law. So the ones in blue are exceeding state law. We'd classify those as excellent. The one in green is meeting state law. Those are the ones that interest us. We want to be able to meet law, but we don't, it's very expensive to get phosphorus down to the level that we're seeing at those sort of light blue sites. So we came up with a number here. What we did was we took that population and we broke it at the 75th percentile. So that means that if we stay underneath that level, we only have a 25% chance that phosphorus would impinge upon the biology at that site. We feel that that's protective of in-stream biology, and it That figure is 0.28, as you see here, 0.277 milligrams per liter. That is 3 times higher than what the state recommendation was. Now, we're talking about very low levels of this pollutant here, but the cost difference between a 0.1 and a 0.277 is vast in terms of a wastewater treatment plant, for example, or a stormwater practice trying to reduce phosphorus. The difference between those two figures is really quite large. So this is based on 15 years of research or so to get us to this number. Okay, where is all this phosphorus in our system coming from? So we'll really look here are pie charts. The blue represents phosphorus from wastewater treatment facilities. The orange slice of the pie represents phosphorus from what we are calling urban sources. That is either MS4s or background sources such as, I'm saying, stream bank erosion. As you can see, the majority of this is clearly coming from wastewater treatment plants. I had a second set of pie charts that I took out of the presentation, which showed flow. If you put this for flow, that's just the amount of water essentially coming from all these sources. These pie charts would be reversed. In other words, you would see that treatment plants represent only a sliver of the pie, and urban sources, that's MS4, and background sources represented the majority of the flow. So clearly, phosphorus is concentrated in our wastewater treatment plant effluent. So this is a different way of looking at this, which is concentration based. And what we've done here is we've taken each of the sample sites we have throughout the program area, and we've attached a phosphorus concentration to it. All of the green icons you can see are calculated as an average of the data that we have for those sites and represent sites that are underneath our target, which is at 0.28. So if you look closely at this map, you can see that, once again, calculated as an average, we're really seeing the problems with concentration downstream of wastewater treatment plants. And so this shows us that our sites that are affected by either MS4s or by background wash-off are typically are underneath that threshold. Now, it's important that I point out that there is a wrinkle in this. If we move away from an average and we look at it on a year-by-year basis, you will see that in certain low-flow years, that's typically the lowest quarter of flows that we see, those concentrations are marginally exceeding our threshold. We think there's good arguments for why that should not be something that IEPA faults the plan on. I think there's good arguments for why that fish and insects can tolerate that, and those will be also part of the plan. Okay, so what is the plan? This represents the west branch of the DuPage River. The headwater of the river is at the left-hand side of the graphic, and as you move towards the mouth of the river, so this is up in Hanover Park, and then as we move towards zero, that is Naperville, and down where the mouth of the river meets the east branch of the DuPage River and goes into the main step. Green icons across the top, these triangles represent wastewater treatment plants, and what you're looking at here is these green lines out at the top where we can see 1 milligram per liter, that's phosphorus, is on our axis. Sorry, this doesn't work on this, but the phosphorus is along our y-axis, and then the miles are along or kilometers in this case, along the bottom x-axis. So the green lines that you can see at the top, that dotted and a solid line, represent what phosphorus is like in the waterway today. What we did is we ran models looking at how we could abate this at wastewater treatment facilities, and then these lines at the bottom, the blue line and then the black line, represent two scenarios where we put the wastewater treatment plants at 0.5 milligrams per liter effluent, and then at 0.35. What we find is 0.35 moves us comfortably inside of our threshold, and that has been discussed with our wastewater members, and they are agreed that that formulates a workable plan in order to hit the goal. So on the non-point source side, we elected to look at leaf litter pickup and street sweeping. There's been a presentation, I think 2 presentations to County Stormwater previously about this study. And in the last few years, we helped fund a study up in Wisconsin looking at leaf litter pickup and its impact on phosphorus in stormwater. And what we found was that 60% of the phosphorus in stormwater was arriving during the months of the fall, and essentially coming from leaf litter. So we proposed to IPA that perhaps the most effective thing to do was to look at leaf litter pickup and street sweeping. This is because these are already practices well known by our public works departments. It's also, they directly tackle leaf litter as opposed to trying to capture the phosphorus once it's already in the water column. And we did a study then to try to work out how much phosphorus are we already capturing through those practices. So we created this map. As you can see a version of it here, where we looked at the canopy over the road in all areas, and we interviewed all the public works departments around the whole program area, and we came up with this figure there's a model which came out of Minnesota which we plugged all that data into, and breaking it at the sort of 50th percentile, that data came out as 12,000 pounds of phosphorus a year being captured by our street sweeping programs. That's quite a lot of phosphorus, but it does represent slightly less than 1% of the total amount of phosphorus produced annually by the wastewater treatment plants. So recommendations. So with two sets of recommendations. The one is what I would say are optimization measures. So these are items that we would say to Public Works, perhaps these are things you want to look at. They're not vital to achieving the plan, but to perhaps optimize phosphorus capture. And so these are for the non-point source sides. This would be looking at the MS4 communities, which would be perhaps consider keeping your total street sweeping the same, but perhaps doing a little more in the fall, perhaps using weather data to better predict when rainfall is going to occur, so we don't get so much loading coming from leaf litters when they're, what really happens is that sits in the street and the rain hits it. That's when the phosphorus is entering the system. So if you can get that leaf litter off the streets prior to a storm, that really cuts down the amount of phosphorus. So it's optimization, things like that, rather than doing additional work. The central recommendation that would be in this report would be that wastewater treatment plants move to a permit limit of 0.5 milligrams per liter. We are suggesting to the state that would not happen until 2035. Around the state, most major plants that fall into this category are already removing phosphorus. Our plants are not doing that typically unless they've expanded during that period, and that is because we did not feel that there was a scientifically defendable number out there, and there was not a plan for an endpoint. This plan provides both, so we feel comfortable now working with IPA to move towards getting phosphorus removal in place of these plants. The plan would also suggest that we continue to deal with habitat issues around the county. That, based on our research, is the primary item which is depressing our fish scores. And once again, the state monitors those fish as an indicator of if your stream is meeting state law or not. So this plan, by pushing back the date of phosphorus removal, would allow funding to continue to physical stream improvements. So next step is that this draft document will be pulled together and reviewed by all of the memberships. It would then go to, we would also include draft permit language for wastewater treatment plants. And then that would go into the state of Illinois, where IEPA would review it. If IEPA is agreed to the general format of the plan, then it would come back to all the partners for public comment and for then approaching various entities to adopt it more formally and to make any tweaks that needed to be made. And with that, I'd be willing to take any questions. I also have a handout here, a newsletter, which we have produced, which covers this in a lot more detail than I was able to do so today. Please, questions?
Any questions? Member Evans?
Thank you. Thanks for the presentation. I just wanted to ask about, so leaf collection in Naperville, we have, we have been looking into, leaf collection is just so expensive, and
yes.
Now, it's kind of getting to the point where the leaves may be falling later, and then by the time they can collect it, they already need to switch out the trucks and put the snow plows on.
Moving into snow and ice operations, yeah. Yeah,
so I know we've been doing different campaigns about leave the leaves, leave them in your yard. Do you have any kind of data on, like, if you leave it in the yard, it still gets in there, into the storm drains through? Yeah,
so if the leaf litter is maintained on a green surface, that really nullifies a lot of its impact. If it's on an impervious surface, and especially if it's subject to vehicular traffic, those really seem to be the things that are pushing it. That leaf, kind of think of it like a tea bag. It's sitting there, it's getting wet, dissolved phosphorus is coming out of it. But if you smash that tea bag up, that increases that even more so. So keeping it on a green surface as opposed to in the street, and then picking it up before it rains, are really the principal drivers on that. We have a study which was produced, and county stormwater staff helped with it. this study, which looked at, you know, a literature review on all this, what the studies was telling us about those various indications. And I can send you the, you know, a link to that study afterwards where we cover this in a lot of detail. But yeah, keeping it out of the street and making sure that you get it picked up before it rains will be the two principal drivers on minimizing the amount of phosphorus coming out of leaf litter.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions?
Sir.
Member Project?
We just started our street sweeping October and November. My area was done on Monday.
Mhm.
Today, it looks like it never was even touched, believe me, and tomorrow we're supposed to get some rain. So what do we do?
And which municipality is this, or
Pardon?
which municipality are we talking about?
Glendale Heights.
Glendale Heights. Okay. Yeah. So as I say, what we're recommending to members is that they, obviously they typically have a set program where they'll say, you know, every 2 weeks or so we'll do this. We're suggesting that perhaps they look at reducing it during summer months and doing extra pickup or extra street sweeping, say in, or leaf litter pickup in the fall. So same amount of total miles done, but perhaps temporally putting it more in that period. Of course, you're pointing out you can run into then the winter weather where they start swapping all those vehicles over to snow and ice management. But yeah, what we're recommending is a more concentrated effort in the fall, or perhaps a more concentrated effort related to that canopy cover map. You know, if you've got a street where there's a lot of canopy cover, you know, that perhaps we'll just do that one more frequently rather than doing everywhere more frequently. And I realize municipalities typically know where the leaf litter is going to be just based on
My
practice.
area, we start October, November, it's on Monday.
Yes.
That's my area. So now it's gonna, next Monday, a week later.
Yep.
We're gonna get some more. And it's very costly.
It is extremely expensive. Yes. And one of the things that we set out to do this for was, I think the data was already pointing, was that you know, wastewater treatment plants were the source of the majority of this phosphorus. And but we wanted to make sure that MS4 communities, et cetera, got credit for they are capturing phosphorus right now, and that was documented, and that there was that they got recognition for that, that they were contributing to keeping phosphorus down in this area. And although this plan, you know, the responsibility for executing this plan really falls on the wastewater treatment plants, we have to recognize that MS4 communities, with their current practices, are capturing phosphorus, and you know, hope that that is maintained. But there's ways, we're saying there's small changes you can make to make it slightly more effective.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion to make Member Rutledge member of the committee for purposes of quorum? Moved by Member Brummel, second by Member Evans, all in favor? Opposed, motion carries. Okay, we're gonna move on to item 5, approval of the minutes. There a motion to approve the minutes of Tuesday, September 5th, moved by Member Tornatore, second by Member Evans. Any questions or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item 6, is there a motion on the claims report 23-3104? Moved by Member Brummel, second by Member Evans. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Move to item 7, budget transfers. Is there a motion on 23-3106? Transfers of funds from part-time help, temporary salaries, for additional costs for normal budget overtime and temporary salaries to departments, field crews during field operations and projected snowplow. Moved by Member Tornatore, second by Member Evans. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item 8, staff reports. Any questions on this 2 staff reports, 23-3127, October program event update, and 23-3128, 2023 September current newsletter? None? Is there a motion to receive and place on file? Moved by Member Brummel, second by Member Rutledge. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving to item 9, action items. Is there a motion on 23-3029? Staff is requesting approval to open the Water Quality Improvement Program grant for 2024. Submission deadline is January 5th, 2024. Member Rutledge, seconded by Member Evans. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We already took care of, let's see, 9B. Is there a motion on 23-3111? Recommendation to approve a contract to Russo Power Equipment to furnish and deliver 1 mower model for stormwater management, the amount $16,250 per lowest responsible bid. By member Pojek, second by member Evans. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed, motion carries. Took care of 9C, we'll move to 9D. Is there a motion on 233180? Stormwater staff and DuPage River Salt Creek Work Group are requesting support to continue efforts development and nutrient implementation plan. Moved by member Evans, second by member Rutledge. Any questions? Good presentation. My head hurts a lot. Usually there's no math involved in stormwater, but that's a good thing. Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed, motion carries. Budget, we can come back on budget for next month, right?
Sure.
Since we're running out of time here, we're down to 3 minutes. Informational, is there a motion to receive and place on file DCP 1723 approval of contracts to a seller for annual subscription, software, Excel online permitting, Blue Beam plan review. Let's see, stormwater amount is the amount of $7,654.50. Almost second by member Evans. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed, motion carries. Any old business? Member Rowe.
Thank you, members. Thank you. Just a quick addition to the presentation and composting. Let's compost more and let's promote that. That's all.
I mean, you're not supposed to, like my neighbors do, blow all the leaves into the street and then they just go down the drain. Okay, composting. Any other old business, any new business? No. Do we have time to do executive session? It's really quick. Okay, so is there a motion to go into executive session pursuant to Open Meetings Act 5 ILCS 120/2C21 biennial review of executive minutes? Roll call, please.
Rummel. Eckhoff. Evans. Pojek. Tornatori. Rutledge. Zay.
Aye. Okay, we're in aye.
Perfect.
Okay. Okay, we're back in regular session. Roll call, please.
Rummel. Eckhoff. Evans. Pojek. Tornatori. Rutledge. Zay.
Here. Okay, we're out of executive session. So is there a motion to release the March 7th, 2023 minutes from executive session? Moving by Rutledge, second by member Brummel. We roll call. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn? Moved by member Tornatori, second by member Evans. All in favor? We're adjourned.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Sheila.
everybody.
And thank you, everyone.
26 minute, 20.